does protect general protesting, and that is why we intend to clarify what exactly this ordinance means. That's what we're doing today.
So what's the need for this ordinance if it doesn't apply, if it does not apply to this case?
Supervisor, I said it time and time again that this ordinance is not in response to just the Church of Scientology. We've had instances of Mormon bishops that have had protesters on their property, if they've been threatening, and I think anybody should have the religious right to utilize their religion without fear of people coming on their property and intimidating or harming them. So this was just an instigating factor in bringing to light an ordinance that's been passed by the County of San Diego, by the City of Riverside, and we are just following suit to protect the tranquility of people that live in their private residences.
I guess I would want to see some specific instance where our current laws, you know, obviously people understand you can't block traffic, create safety hazards, you know, keep employees from going in and out of a residence or institution, and we already have laws to deal with that. I would much prefer to see some narrowly tailored ordinance come out of a specific instance which created significant problems, and particularly safety problems, which could not be already handled and dealt with by our Sheriff's Department under current laws. In their large variety of types of disputes, I look at things like labor disputes, strikes. I mean, we have picketers, and often there's concern about picketers and labor strikes interfering with replacement employees coming in and out, and there has to be site-specific rules drawn up, and often the Sheriff's Department has to go out and do this on the ground. And I fear this I was waiting for clarity on, and I was assured that there was a specific spot that these people could protest in this location, and I still haven't seen that particular spot. And hearing now that we're not considering the entire property as a residence in this specific case, and only certain buildings on it, which would be very difficult for anyone to tell what those buildings were. I think this ordinance, first, question whether it's needed because it doesn't apply in this case, and second, whether or not if it does apply, and we can have a number of cases where we did have problems that we couldn't otherwise take care of with existing law, that why it should not be further redrawn or entirely withdrawn.
Well, Supervisor, I can ask Pam Walsh to go down again and further articulate the areas that you can protest. That I think is congruent with where they've been protesting. So unless the Sheriff's Department wants to come forward and talk about other issues that have necessitated their intervention, Pam, go ahead. You can show those sites. And, you know, Riverside County has always been progressive and proactive. I don't want to wait for an incident and somebody getting maimed or killed before we come through and write an ordinance to protect the public. And that's exactly what this is. This is protecting the public. Ms. Walls, once again.
Thank you. Thank you. You would have to, again, target these residences. And so really much of Golden Era along Gilman Springs Road can be, assuming it's safe for the protesters, could be a area of general protest.
So is the spot,
in fact,
if they walk, picketing right now, or the spot that they have been picketing, is that permitted under this ordinance? Is it even covered by it?
I understand they're picketing in this area, and that would, my interpretation is that would be permissible. They could also walk the length of Gilman Springs Road without targeting these residential areas. It's very narrowly drawn, and we shouldn't be looking at it with such a broad brush.
We have a couple more speakers. Sam Al-Hadif, you'll be next, followed by Catherine Fraser. Thank you, Ms. Walls.
Good morning. My name is Sam Al-Hadif. I want to try to walk through some of the things that have been said in an efficient manner. But let me first start by saying that Ordinance 888 was already adopted by the board. This is Ordinance 884, and it's the second reading. And I thought that the last time we were together, that it was very clear to me that exactly what you said, Supervisor, and what Supervisor Wilson said was what was to happen. If you read the minutes of the last meeting, it says that it's ordered that the above ordinance, and the 884 was approved along with 888, is approved as introduced with a waiver of the reading with direction to staff to set up a procedure to get a defined area where they then can legitimately protest in conformance with the ordinance, and further to report back in 6 months on how many instances the ordinance had to be enforced with a complete description of each instance. We're supposed to do that. And it's been 1 week, and this is Ordinance 884 was introduced for its second reading. What I had proposed to County Council and what we're working on is a collaborative meeting with the sheriff, with County Council, to do exactly what the board asked us to do, and then to report back. Of all of the things that you've heard today, not one DA investigation report has ever been commenced here at this area. The interesting thing about this is that we're in a situation where rights are balanced. We're giving people the right to live in their own residences and be free of what could be harassment or picketing. And we're also recognizing that people have the right to demonstrate in a free society to a certain degree, not to say certain things or do certain things. There are bounds of decency and propriety. Having said that, all of the things that were discussed today really are not germane to the ordinance. The only thing that really is germane or relevant to the ordinance today is for us to do exactly what the board asked us to do and to report back to the board. And that's what we propose to do. And in that regard, having said that, it was very clear from the purpose of the ordinance that it was done to picketing activity that is targeted at a particular residence or household whose occupants do not welcome such activity, may harass, intimidate such occupants, is inherently and unreasonably offensive and intrusive upon the rights of privacy, disturbs a sense of peace and tranquility traditionally enjoyed by individuals in their homes, and may cause occupants of such home to experience great emotional distress. It talks about captive audience. In this particular case, unfortunately, you have a campus where people live in apartments, and yes, Supervisor, I would invite you to come out there. The apartments are well-defined. The single-family residences are well-defined, and the other residents are well-defined. It really is very easy to calculate where these exist. Having said that, what has happened with these particular group of individuals, and they have every right to protest, but this particular group of individuals came to one area, and then they saw that they could be violating. Basically what happened is the sheriff said, if this was the city of Riverside, we could protect you. So what we have now is a situation where they've moved to the entrance of the facility, and they have every right to protest as long as it's peaceful and doesn't obstruct or do other things such as walk in front of vehicles or dart in front of traffic. So there are those challenges. So this ordinance will be very protective of the residents and residences. I don't know what else to add, except I think we ought to go about doing what we were supposed to do and follow the orders of the board.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I guess this has led quite a path. I was under the impression that the ordinance considered this entire property as a residence, such that you would not be able to be allowed under the changes here from demonstrating within 50 feet of the property line, or it was exempted, you could go directly across the street.
Correct.
In this case, Gilman Springs Road. And I asked at last meeting whether there was a spot across the street that under this ordinance would qualify as a place to protest. I was assured that there was. Okay, now I hear that the ground has changed, that we're not considering this entire property as a residence. We're only considering the individual buildings within it that may be used for residential purposes, which changes the whole intent of the ordinance. This ordinance is against targeted residential picketing. In this case, the protest is against the institution, not any particular residence on that institution.